Hey, what's going on? Angelo Lombardo. First of all, I want to thank you for checking out my post. Again, my name is Angelo Lombardo, and I am a Fortune 500 executive. I work for one of the world's largest consumer product companies, and I specialize in sales, account management, negotiations, marketing, brand, and a number of other things. But that's not important. What is important is the question that I'm about to ask, and that is, are you ready for the next layoff? You see, I just got back from a meeting at my headquarters, and my organization is going through a big layoff. And some people very, very close to me and some of my colleagues were impacted, and they're going to be exiting the organization soon. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're like, how can this be going on? The economy is absolutely booming. And you're absolutely right. In fact, we're in one of the best economies we're actually in the best economy since the Great Recession. Layoffs are ironically at historical lows. But here's the thing. The economy is not booming equally everywhere. So for example, in my industry, consumer products, there's a lot of things that have changed over the last 20 years when I first got into this, and it's forcing companies to do what they need to do today to continue to be competitive. And kind of a note on that really quick, and just bear with me because I do have a tendency for tangents, but it's all going to be relevant, I promise. People are about a company downsizing, and they're like, oh, those cruel companies, how could they just do that, not thinking of how they're impacting the lives of people? But here's the thing, and I really understood this when I got into the business, 20 years ago. Companies exist for one purpose, and that's to return profitability to the shareholders. All of us who work for an organization are just mechanisms to help do that. I've been involved in a lot of downsizings over the years. On both sides of the table, I've had my job eliminated, and I've been involved in meetings in which we've had to make decisions on where we're going to cut. But I've never, ever been in a meeting in which somebody was happy about what was going to go on and the people that were going to get affected. But the unfortunate reality is it's part of business. It's happening now, it's happened in the past, and it's going to happen again. And even companies that are completely booming right now, Google, Apple, Salesforce, some of these big names that we all know of, their time will come. Eventually, there'll be a time in which the growth will slow and they're going to have to do what they need to do to remain profitable, remain competitive, and often that is accompanied with job losses, which again is an unfortunate reality of the business landscape. So, kind of getting back to the situation I was just exposed to, the individuals that I know that got impacted, very close to me, very close to some of my colleagues, and my colleagues were absolutely shocked. I mean, it really made this real for them. And there was a degree of panic because most of these people were actually at job levels above us. So the concern now is, does it start there and does it start rolling downhill? And are any of us going to be affected? And the reality is, yeah, we could. And they reacted how I see a lot of people react, which is exactly what I just said. They reacted. Panic, concern, worry, rationalizing, trying to make themselves feel better by giving all the reasons why it may not affect them. Because here's the thing, and I've really seen this over the years. Most people, especially if you're watching this and you're in your 40s, or maybe even early 50s, most people come from a time many of the people that I know come from a time when you would start working for a company in your 20s and there was a real good chance you were going to work for that company until you retired. Now, things are changing a lot now, but the problem with that is a lot of people took what I call the ostrich mentality when it came to managing their career. They basically got into a job, they just kind of did that job, they did whatever they do outside of work and kind of buried their head in the sand and ignored the reality that someday they could end up without a job, and they've done nothing to proactively manage their career. And so when it happens, they're in a complete reactionary mode. And I can relate to this because there was a time in my life in which I was extremely reactionary in all aspects, in my career, in my life, with regard to my job, how I did my job. It was always fighting fires rather than getting out in front of them. And then one day I had a transformational event happen. My oldest daughter was born with a very serious heart defect, and we didn't know if she was going to make it, through that first year. And like a lot of people that are in that situation, I wanted to know the why. Why is this happening? And my wife would always tell me things happen for a reason. You just don't always see it right away. By the way, she handles these things much better than I do. And what I saw, over the years as we went through our journey with this situation is she was absolutely right. And one of the things that happened was as I saw different events that were related to this happening, it really changed me from being into a reactive person into a proactive person. And it's a philosophy which I've coined a term for. I call it playing offense. It's no longer waiting for things to happen to you, but it's going out and identifying what you want in your life, very important, in your career, and making it happen. So here's the important thing. I'm going to put that question on back to you again. Are you ready for the next layoff? Because it could happen to you. It could happen to you tomorrow. It could happen to you next week. It could happen to you 2 years from now. But what would happen if I've got a phone call or you got pulled into somebody's office and you were told you no longer had a job? Would you start worrying about how you were going to pay your mortgage? How you were going to feed your family, your kids' education, your retirement, all of the things that relies on your employment today? Would you react and go into a panic? If so, don't feel bad. You're not alone. In fact, the vast majority of people will react in that way. But here's the good news. You can switch from a completely reactive mode to an offensive mode, especially in your career. So, and here's the thing. This is the good thing. This is not some fuzzy mumbo jumbo self-help, process that if you just close your eyes for 15 minutes and think of good things, all these great things are going to happen. There's actually a methodology you can follow that has processes and tools that you can use to basically get on the offensive in life and always play offense. And this is what it looks like. And this is kind of my inward looking compass, if you will. But it's a process, and it's sequential. This is how it works. Starts with a mindset. You adopt an attitude. You use tools. And I want to say something about these tools. These are real, proven tools that I have used, that others use every day in what we do to help these massive, companies, big or small, massive companies, small companies, be successful. And the thing is, because here's the thing. If you can use tools to run a company, you can use tools to run yourself. And they're very simple and easy to understand. Let me give you an example. Right now, think of the 3 things that you do best. In fact, share them with me. Put them in the comments below. 3 things that you do best. You got it? Okay. So now we're going to build a brand. Those are your brand attributes. Those are your strategic differentiating points. Now, we attached a fancy term to it, but really it's the 3 things that make you that you do better than most people you know or most people you work with. Okay, ready? I'm going to do this to you again. Can you write? Can you record? Can you share something that you saw on Facebook or LinkedIn or any of those other tools? If you can, then that is your advertising. Things that are related to the 3 things you do best, that you share, that you write about, that you do videos on. So there is your advertising campaign. So if one of the things you do better is accounting, You may be on LinkedIn and you may find articles about different types of accounting software, processes, changes in the GAAP rules, and you share those and put your commentary on it. Takes 5 minutes, but that is advertising your skills that make you better than everybody else. Okay, one last thing. Ready? Have you ever heard of any of the following? YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Okay? Those are your media outlets. Instead of CBS, NBC, etc., those are your media outlets, and that's where you share your message. Now, it's not important that you get a handle on all of that right now, because we're going to talk about those in future posts. But the important thing is for you to understand those are tools that we use every day that you just saw, that they can be applied to you to make you stand out and make you proactive. And I'm going to talk more about that in a moment. And then finally, process. There's a process in which you do all of this that's going to allow you to be offensive in a good way in all aspects of your life. It will allow you to, as I say, always play offense. So the key is you got to tune in and you got to use these tools and processes. So I'm going to we're going to start doing this right now. All right. I want to give you something to think about. And that's the best thing you can think of is using a tool called, and that's backwards, I apologize, LinkedIn. So here, let me do it this way. There you go, LinkedIn. How many of you have a LinkedIn profile? Okay. How many of you have actively engaged with that profile in the last week, the last days, the last month? Or did you do, like a lot of people I know, did you kind of what I call set it and forget it? You set up a basic profile and you kind of use it as an online resume, and you don't really participate in any type of dialogue, any type of conversations, you don't post anything. And here's the thing. And if you don't, that's okay, because that's what we're going to talk about in the weeks ahead. But the thing is, the biggest issue with job security is being the one in control. Again, being on offense. And the way you take control is you build visibility. You may be the best at what you do, but if no one knows it, it's irrelevant. How many people do you know in the company you work for? You look at them and you go, how the hell does that person keep getting promoted? They're good. They're better networkers. They build relationships. They're visible. They're good at, whether or not they're actually better than you or even good to begin with, they're good at the skills of being visible and being known. And, we gravitate towards the familiar. So they're very good at doing that. So tools like LinkedIn, tools like Facebook, tools like Google, you need to use them to get out there and talk about the skills that make you different. And there's so many ways you can do that, because I know some people, the thought of actually putting a video together like this absolutely mortifies them. Some people don't enjoy writing, so they would never do a blog, but everybody can everybody can hit share and write 2 sentences on something. So there's lots of ways, depending upon what you like to do, to help you get visible. And then people are going to start coming to you to ask you all kinds of things. They're going to want to connect with you because they're going to want to be in your network, because you're clearly someone who demonstrates their knowledge. You're going to have people like recruiters coming to you, which, be very honest, may be good or not. We'll talk about recruiters later on as well. But the key is obscurity is the enemy. Your skills are not the problem. The amount of time you've been in your job is not the problem. The amount of companies that you've worked for over the years is not the problem. The gap in your employment is not the problem. Some of these are issues you got to confront, but none of them are a problem. The one problem is obscurity. If you can be known, you will always be in charge of your career. So here's what I'd like to ask you to do. Subscribe to this channel, or go to my website, www.angelolombardo.com. I've got a link down below. and sign up for my email list so that you always know when I'm posting, when I'm doing a Facebook Live or putting out a blog or putting out a Google video. And my commitment to you is I am going to give you concrete, actionable stuff that you can use. This is going to be a no fluff zone. And you guys can call me on it. If there's ever anything I put out there that is just completely like a water sandwich, hey, there's a whole comment section down below to let me and everybody else know how you feel. So I am going to be fully accountable to you guys. You know, my thing is, there's so much I wish I knew when I was starting off in my 20s. And the biggest one was, well, if I just work hard, I'll get promoted and eventually I'll have a lifestyle that I really want. And I'll tell you what's really bad is that didn't go away in like a year or 2 years or 3 years. That I carried that for a long, long time. Now, working hard and putting out a good effort is important. Putting out a good product is important. Delivering of results is important. But those are not going to create job security. Those are not going to get you advanced in your career. Those are not going to be able to, get you to where you want to be. And so my goal is to share the stuff that I wish I had known years ago. So whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, it's never too late to harness this to basically get to where you want to get to. So, and we'll talk about all aspects because again, this stuff can apply to your life. It can apply to volunteer things you're doing, but we're going to start with your career because, this situation that happened last week has hit real close to home to me. And for those of my friends that do follow me, I want to make sure, as well as everybody else, I'm going to put you in control of your career. You're always going to play offense. So again, subscribe, sign up on my website, follow me. We're going to do some great stuff. And I am going to empower you to never, ever again be under someone else's control. You will always be playing offense. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the weeks and months ahead. Take care.